Welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going, Dan?
Good, man. Back at it. It's actually February 24th, 2021. We're going to jump into a review of Judas and the Black Messiah. Of course, this is a movie that I've been itching to see.
Right. I know, and I've had to push you because you brought it up a long time ago before it was released. It was like you had your finger on that movie.
Well, it's finding the place where it fits and feels right, you know, and it's interesting because total coincidence. Again, we're recording on February 24th, 2021. As you're listening to this, it will probably be a few days after that. But today's actually Daniel Kaluuya's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Coincidentally. So, I think he's
funny coincidence.
I think he's 32 today. So happy birthday to Daniel Kaluuya. First off, quick business. If you're not following us already, make sure that you do. The easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother, podcast.com. That's ohbpodcast.com. It gives you access to everything, all of our social media information. You can subscribe and watch our YouTube channel there. We have a blog that you can follow, which we just put out two pretty recent blogs, actually. Most recently, one about award shows, which I'd love, as we say in the blog, love to hear from listeners, who have read that blog. If you haven't, go out to the website and check it out. Because
it's a short one. It's a quick read. It's a short one. It's a quick read. I think this is one Dan wrote that I'm in total agreement with.
Yeah, 100%. and the gist is, well, we'll just say that the title of the blog is Oscar Buzz Kill. So that'll set it up for you.
And at the end of this, because we've got the Golden Globes coming up in 4 days, why don't we make a little prediction of the best pictures or actors or whatever?
Yeah, you're in a little bit of better position to do that than I am, but I'll give it based on what I know.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this film. So Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, this is another film that we've probably touched on this to some degree in almost every episode, but it's another one that had a delay. But this script, I think this is another one that's been shopped around since, I want to say, like 2014. You know, it's been around in some form or another for a while. And then it just had to fall into the right hands, get, the financial backing and all that good stuff.
The timing also, again, like we talked about last movie with the Me movement.
The Me Too movement. Yeah.
The Me Too movement. The same with this. We had Black Lives Matter over the last year, very prominent. And, for once, it wasn't just Black people. It was white people joining in, understanding somewhat of the history of what's going on,
or at least an opportunity to hopefully start to get educated.
Yeah. And I think that's what this movie does, because this is a page out of history. This is not best original screenplay. This is based on real events, real people.
Right.
So,
and I think, this is an episode where we can probably talk a little bit more freely about the film, because again, it's based on true events.
Right.
And, you can look that history up yourself if you don't already know it. Now, this was originally slated to be an August release. And then, of course, got pushed like so many other films. And this is also another one of those that Warner Brothers, right? It's
HBO.
Comes right out to HBO Max at the same time, which is how we get it. So directed by Shaka King, who I wasn't really familiar with, and really doesn't have a long resume, certainly not with film. It has some short films and some television series and things, but not really so much with feature films. And then starring Daniel Kaluuya, like we mentioned already, LaKeith Stanfield, who's another sort of main character in the film we'll talk about.
Yeah, and people probably know Daniel from recently.
Yeah.
It was one of the horror ones, right?
It's the one I missed. I didn't get. Get Out.
Was it? Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah.
I wanted to see if you remember that.
And coincidentally, Black Panther. He was
Black
in
Panther too, and
yeah, which we'll be
he's been in
talking a
other
lot about.
things. He's been in other things
Yeah.
too. He's a great actor.
Good supporting cast. You know, you got Jesse Plemons, who we like, who followed him for quite a while. And Martin Sheen, of course, is in it as J. Edgar Hoover, which was interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
And again, you know, if you won't go through all the names, but there was a lot of performances in it that I thought were pretty solid from the supporting cast. So set it up just again, this is in the history books, but if you want to give us the Mike synopsis.
Yeah, it's basically, it's about the founding of the Black Panthers, which most people have probably heard about, but don't know much about. And I think I fall into that camp too. I think there was a lot of things that pointed to my ignorance as I watched this about the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
But it's basically about how they were founded, their founder, what they went through basically as a group, and kind of how they got to today. And they went through quite a bit in those early years. And this focuses on the early years, the really beginning. There's basically the FBI, which Dan mentioned, led by the infamous J. Edgar Hoover at the time, was trying to infiltrate all of there was other Black groups at the time too, the Crowns being one of the more significant ones. But J. Edgar Hoover was trying to infiltrate them. So he got an officer, or he had feds set up to try to get Black agents, or recruit Black COs, they call them, into the organization to get, you know, where they were going to be, what they were planning, where their stuff was, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that's the basic premise of the whole thing.
Yeah. And one of those played by LaKeith Stanfield, who plays William Bill O'Neill.
Right. Real guy.
Right. And he was the one that infiltrated. And, you know, I thought it was an interesting, subtle, just in the title, Judas and the Black Messiah, you know, the betrayal implication there in the title, and then, you know, Black Messiah. But, and I'm with you. I mean, it was another one where, of course, familiar with the Black Panther Party to a degree, but certainly didn't have the history that I came away with from watching this movie.
Nor was it taught to us.
No, not at all. Of course.
You know, our K through 12, at least mine, I can only, we went to different schools in high school.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was I didn't want you going to my high school because it was horrible. And last 4 years of high school, I was asleep doing various clubs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But this is stuff that should be taught.
Well, yeah, our history is very whitewashed, as much of it still is. And my high school was much more diversified because it was it was made up of 12 cities throughout the greater Boston area. And all of the, you know, everybody would sort of come together to the school. So it was very diversified, but the education, you know, the content and what I was reading in the books wasn't any different than what you were getting. And, you know, I think it's interesting because I had the pleasure to listen in on a conversation with Dr. Cornell West just earlier in the week. Yeah. And it was interesting. He was asked a question by one of the moderators, and basically it was, what do you say to the people who compare the Black Panther Party to the KKK? And his first comment was, I'd first tell him to get off the crack pipe, is what he said.
That sounds like him. Yeah.
And then to read your history books. And he very clearly articulated the fact that, you know, the Black Panther Party was formed as a self-defense party to protect, you know, the African-American community, the Black community, against the police state that they were living in.
Except it was always slanted in the media.
Well, right. And
they really made it look like it was a terrorist outfit.
That's my point, is anything that I knew about the Black Panthers or heard about the Black Panthers was this militant group, aggressive.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's the same
and
with
it's funny because Jesse Owens in the famous shot at the Olympics with the fist, you know, that was really kind of with the Black Panthers, you know, the fist in the air, that was really coordinated with that group.
But man, does this really change your perception of that?
Yeah.
After watching this film, it opened my eyes quite a bit. And I did a little bit of, you know, research and reading outside of just watching the film on the history, but, you know, specific to Fred Hampton. And man, this is a really accurate accounting of the events and his, you know, I was really interested just to learn more about him.
What was the year this took place in?
So like 1968.
68.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we grew up here in Boston where I'm at, and we're in the suburbs where it's, you know, all white, and we didn't see a lot of diversity.
Right. It's not very integrated.
It wasn't until I moved to Florida where my world opened up quite a bit to a diverse population.
Yeah, that was the same for me.
And also through the 70s, when you were a little bit too young, I think, to realize this, the whole busing issue was really headstrong when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Late 70s, where they would bus kids from schools to schools trying to force the integration. And it was a disaster. It led to just all sorts of, you know, when you're forcing people to do it, it just doesn't work. We're not born with this racist tendency. It's taught. I'm totally convinced of that. And, you know, when you try to force people to, you know, appreciate culture, they're going to back away. If you just allow them to appreciate it, I think that's a better way to do it.
Yeah. But you've got to have access and exposure to it.
Right. And I remember in college, it was a totally different story where, you know, we were taught it in every class. There was a piece of developmental from a child's point of view, and there was a piece in every class about volunteering, and there was a piece in every class about, you know, segregation and, you know, diversity.
Yeah.
And that's what really opened me up to finally, you know, see what's going on around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was much of the same for me. Like you said, coming to Florida, that had a big part of it. Getting educated had a big part with, you know, sort of broadening my worldview and things like that. But again, seeing this film, you realize still ignorant to a lot of it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And
so get into the movie.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. And again, from what I read outside of watching it, a very accurate accounting of the events that took place, you know?
Yeah.
And so thought it was well directed, some really very strong acting performances, not only by Daniel Kaluuya and LaKeith Stanfield, but again, much of that supporting cast.
Right.
Was it Deborah, his wife's Deborah Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to look up Dominique Fishback. She was amazing. There's a lot of other surrounding, you know.
Yeah. There are some great supporting characters. Daniel Kaluuya.
Kaluuya.
Mm-hmm. It was a standout performance for me. And it's so ironic. They have him in the supporting character, and I thought he was a lead for sure.
Well,
even though he was off film because his character as the leader gets thrown in jail. So he's off of the movie for that time.
For a period of time, right?
But he really leads this movie.
Yeah. Now, LaKeith Stanfield, who plays Bill O'Neill, so early in the film, he basically gets taken in by the feds for this attempt. You know, he's a car thief.
And he's impersonating a Fed.
Correct. And
to steal cars.
Right. So he's attempting to do that in this scene early in the film. Doesn't go well. So he ends up getting picked up. And to avoid some pretty significant jail time as a result of those crimes,
at least threatened jail time.
Right.
That's what they do. They put him under the light, and he was a kid. He's
right.
like, what? 5 years for impersonation? What? Another 10 years for what?
And that's how they got their hooks in him to agree to infiltrate the party, and ultimately, which led to the betrayal of Fred Hampton.
Right.
And but for me, it's interesting you say that, because to me, LaKeith Stanfield is a standout
too. I thought so too.
His performance, and because of what his character and the real person that he's portraying is going throughout the film, you can see on more than one occasion in the film how conflicted he is.
Correct.
About what he's doing. And LaKeith Stanfield does he really, without even saying any lines, there's times you just see it in his non-verbal performance.
You can see it in his eyes.
You see it in his eyes. Yeah.
When he hears something or sees something and he knows what's going on behind the scenes, you can just see him like almost in a panic. And you see it on both sides. You see him at times, he's like, they're going to kill my friends and the people I hang out with all the time. Yeah. And then you see him on the other side of it where, okay, they're going to do this. He's very conflicted.
He is, yeah.
And great performance.
Excellent performance.
See the real person.
Yes.
There's clips that are I thought the directing was put those clips in the right spots.
It's perfect. And that's
maybe
actually
three?
Yeah, maybe three.
Clips, 3 breaking clips.
Right. And it opens with one of those clips.
Exactly.
That's how the film opens. Is he's
and
being,
you're not sure.
No, he's being interviewed.
Yes.
After the events about
it.
And you learn in the end credits, or just before the credits roll, they sort of have the ending title sequences coming up, and they basically tell you what occurred shortly thereafter, after
that interview.
After that interview specifically. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't know if that was really him or an actor.
That was really him.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't know that at that first shot.
Oh, I see. Right.
I'm looking and I'm saying, wow, he's really natural. What a great performance, only to find out, like, when they cut in the second time, that's what they're showing me here. They're showing the real guy being portrayed in the movie. And really a tragedy for him, personally. I think
very much so.
Tragic situation. No one should be put in that situation.
No, and I think it's important to point out a few other things too about Fred Hampton. Is, you learn that, again, the Black Panther Party, as Cornel West put it, a self-defense party that was basically trying to protect themselves against this fascist police state that they were living in. And
so,
they were doing things
racist.
Yeah. And they were doing things like organizing, large community breakfasts for the youth, and all of this good work that they were doing.
Right.
And then, to the point where they, because of Fred Hampton's ability to organize, which is something you learn about, he was able to actually organize and get these other street gangs
together,
join forces, essentially.
Yeah.
And really grow the movement, even greater, right, than it would have otherwise been.
Like, one of their themes, and I never knew this, one of the themes of the Black Panthers was, no child goes without breakfast.
Yeah. And
they would go into communities with flyers and people hating on them. And they're just saying, we want to feed your kids. Mm-hmm. Just bring them to this church, bring them to this location. We want to feed every kid in this great city. That's all.
Now, Fred Hampton, he'd been doing that since he was like 8 years old.
Really?
He'd already been involved in, you know, at least in part, to whatever degree you can at that age, organizing those breakfasts.
Right.
So, and he was a very smart guy. He did, you know, he was, I think, an honor student and an athlete, as I recall. I think he was like a football player or whatever. But what is not lost on you as you're watching this film that really resonates is all of this was happening, the events in the film anyways, and where the movement was and where it was going at the hands of a guy that was 21 years old.
Right.
Right. Like when you really sit with that for a minute and
blows your mind.
It blows your mind. You recognize again his just natural ability to organize and get people to listen to him and follow him, and he was all about the party. He was all about the
very
movement,
brave,
very selfless.
He would go on other gangs or groups' turf with no fear.
Well, the Crowns was one of the big ones depicted in the film. The Crowns was
one of the big ones, and he went there, and they were very militant, heavily armed, and they put their guns and they locked them in the trunk, and they go in to tell them, hey, we want every kid to eat. We want to join. It's happening to you. It's happening to us. We're really the same. We should be on the same side.
It really was a pacifist mentality. I mean, because, you know, there's a scene where Bill O'Neill is basically wanting to blow up the police station or whatever it was.
Gets a bunch of
C4 in the trunk. And, you know, Hampton's just like outraged at the idea and like, what's wrong with you?
Exactly.
That's not what we stand for.
That's not us.
That's what they want everybody to think we you know, you're going to play right into their hands, basically.
Now they were armed at times because it was for self-defense.
Yeah, sure.
If you've got the police driving into where you have a headquarters set up, blasting music to the neighbors 24/7,
right,
yelling in megaphones, this is because of the Black Panthers. This music is because of the Black Panthers, yelling racist slurs and everything else. You know, they had to protect themselves, and you know, the cops like that. I mean, look what's going on today.
Well, I was just going to say, so here we're talking about events that took place in the late 60s. It's now 2021. And we're still in the same, we're not, let's make that clear. We're not.
Right.
But society is, and certainly the Black and brown communities. And, you know, we can't relate to that experience, but certainly we see it. We're standing witness to it.
And just today, another death of a young Black male by the hands of police, no charges.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, how many times?
And that was the case here too, right?
Yeah, how many times?
Nobody answered for this. And, you know, there was Hampton goes to prison for a few years, as you alluded to earlier, gets out, files an appeal, it's denied. So he's going to be going back to prison. And one of the interesting scenes is Jesse Plemons, you know, one of the federal agents, and another guy he reports to, I think, are on a call with Hoover. And they're calling to give him the good news, quote unquote, that Hampton's going back to prison. And Hoover's like, yeah, I already knew that. And then he goes on to basically say, that's not good enough. That's not the solution we're looking for. And you know exactly what he's saying.
Yep.
You know exactly what he's saying. And, you know, you basically learn that he formed, I'm just going to call it a killing squad.
Absolutely.
That's basically what it was. They went in and they murdered this young guy. Is exactly what happened. And a lot of other people.
And that was, you know, to stop him from going to jail for the rest of his life.
Well, and as Hoover states in that scene, he's saying, I forget who he referenced, but Hampton going to prison, in his mind, he was just going to become more of a celebrity.
Right. Makes him a martyr.
Makes him a martyr. Exactly.
Yet killing him isn't going to make him a martyr. And that's the one problem I had with the movie was Martin Sheen. That ridiculous makeup.
Sheen.
Martin Sheen. I always say Sheen. The ridiculous makeup. Come on.
I actually didn't think it was that bad.
Oh, come on. If I showed you that picture,
yeah, I didn't think it was that bad.
In 2 seconds, you can say, "What's Martin Sheen?"
Well, all right,
he's gaining weight.
I'll tell you what, he did look a little like
terrible.
He did look a little like Danny DeVito's Penguin. I'll give you that.
He looked terrible.
Yeah,
it didn't look like. I think Saturday Night Live could have done a better makeup job.
That's hard.
And make him look like J. Edgar Hoover, because he looked nothing like Hoover. I'm like, why are they making? When I first saw him come on screen, I'm like,
no,
is this a commercial?
I mean, he's in the film, he's a pretty insignificant character, but certainly not in the events, of course.
But if you're going to portray him, don't do it like that. Don't put any makeup on him.
I didn't think it was that big.
It was that bad to me. It was so stupid.
It's no worse than
really good movie.
It's no worse than Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa, and Pacino's my man, but
I thought that
with
was,
the big teeth, I
thought it was okay.
It's pretty bad.
But he was a much more significant character. You're talking about the Irishman.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I like the music soundtrack too, just to divert away from the story for a little bit. There was a really interesting eclectic mix of music in the film, but particularly at times this jazz music that would enter into the film. It was it's hard to sort of explain or I guess articulate, but it was it created, I think it added to the tension of some of the scenes
and the atmosphere.
Yeah, that sort of improvised, jazz music, the way that it is, it was really nice. Good soundtrack too. I was listening before it came on air. But yeah, it just, to me, walking away and going, geez, like, first of all, what I didn't know about the movement, and then certainly Fred Hampton and the fact that he accomplished what he did at such a young age. I was just blown away by that fact. I had no idea.
That was unbelievable to think. And I love the way Daniel, he gained weight to take on that character, because he's a pretty slim guy. Yeah. And they showed the real, Fred Hampton in certain pictures. Mm-hmm. And he took on, I think he did that to get the feel. And he really had like the sort of cadence of his voice down. And it's just really a couple powerful scenes from him where he's given some speeches and things. Yeah. And you could see, at least through the portrayal, how, the sort of magnetism of his personality that would draw people in. And especially when he was, I mean, think about it. He's able to organize and get Hispanic and even white gangs. Yeah, because ironically, there's one sequence where they're in a church and
the quote unquote rednecks.
Yeah, he's on the pulpit or whatever you want to call it. And he's basically working the crowd, and the other guy who's infiltrating is in front of him, kind of looking out. They're almost, kind of like a president giving a speech with the FBI or the Secret Service in front of him. Same way, right? Mm-hmm. And you catch Jesse Plemons in the crowd, like acting like he's one of them. Right. And he makes eye contact
with Bill O'Neill.
With Bill O'Neill, the informant. And, again, that was just such great acting with his eyes. He sees him and he's like, what are you doing here? It was. And you could tell at that point he was very conflicted between, being a rat for the FBI. Right. And really believing in the cause that he was infiltrating for those years.
There's one of the more
kind of became the leader when Fred Hampton goes to jail. He kind of took up the mantle.
Yeah, he was the head of security, was really kind of the title, and
Yeah.
that they gave him. And, they would call each other comrades. And there was a sort of militant sort of aspect to it, but not in what they were trying to do, of course. But there was a line early in the film. I think it's when LaKeith Stanfield as William O'Neill is getting, I won't say interrogated, but questioned by Jesse Plemons' character about why he was using, this fake FBI badge going into this bar that he went into unarmed other than the badge.
Right.
And again, I don't know if it was Jesse Plemons, but the line is, a badge is scarier than a gun.
Right.
And to me, that set up the rest of the film. I thought that was such a profound statement to be made at the beginning of the film.
And then to me, the other sequence that impacted me a lot was, again, with Martin Sheen, when I was not looking at the makeup, when he was talking to Plemons. And he was grilling Plemons. And, what are you going to do when your daughter, how's your daughter? How old is she? 18 months now. Wow. That's pretty. She's walking now, huh? She talking? Oh, good. So when she brings home a Negro, what are you going to do? What are you going to say?
Right.
And even Plemons, who's like a bad guy in this, because, he's heading the operations, like, sir, she's 18 months. What does that have to do with anything? He's like, well, you answer my question. What's she going to do?
What is this? Cool Hand Luke all of a sudden?
All of a sudden I went
That's a horrible. What we got here is
a
communicate.
I went into the bad Martin Sheen makeup for a second. I think I imagined myself as that.
That's
but
funny.
that had an impact on me too. I would say not only recommend this, but I think people should go see this.
Yeah, I would agree.
Should take the effort. Especially if you have HBO Max, absolutely, you should see it
for sure.
And it's a reason to subscribe, quite frankly.
Yeah, and his were they married? I don't know that they got married, but his significant other, Deborah, she's still involved. With the I think it's the Black Panther Cub Party or something.
Wow. I thought she was killed.
No, she was no. You see her come out and get arrested.
Oh, that's right.
And well, you got to see the film to see some.
It's
of
amazing
these
anybody comes out of that alive.
Yeah, it is. It was awful, And again, if you read about the events,
the account,
it's like, wow, it was
and
very
that's a
accurate.
Killer. It's right there to read and learn about this whole scenario. If you see the movie and you think, oh wow, this is, it's right there. Just you can Google it.
Yeah.
And read the,
yeah, it's a
first-hand accounts.
Yeah, this is a film I'm thankful for. I'm glad we watched it, had a chance to talk about it, and reflect on it, because it really it needs the attention. And again, with, as you mentioned, sort of where we still are, is still raging on. Right. And I think it's important for us to state the fact that, as two white men, certainly out of anybody, we have an obligation. Again, it's what you're taught. It's what you're exposed to, what you're not exposed to, what you're not taught, and you can see the profound impact.
And I wondered now, given where we are now in society, with all the fake media and the fake news and all the lies coming out of different outlets, can we get to a normal? Can we get, I don't know.
I mean, I think we're still a long ways away from that. But again, I think, we have an obligation to, to be part of that, work. Without question, we highly recommend checking this film out. Just from the standpoint of, again, it's a lesson in history, in real history.
Yeah.
not the whitewashed version that we got in school when we were coming up. So anything else that you want to comment on about the film?
Well, not about the film, but if we get into some of the award stuff, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
100% go see this.
Yep.
It's easy enough to get it, from your home.
Judas and the Black Messiah, HBO Max.
And I think you can get like a free month, if you sign up, and you can cancel if you don't like it, but watch some of the stuff and definitely watch this.
This would be worth it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, let's see, you got any commentary on because you said the Golden Globes are coming up on Sunday.
I was just curious if you had picks, for winners.
Well,
to go out there on a limb.
So now
this might come out after the award show.
Yeah. Unlike you, I haven't seen all of them, but best motion picture drama, you've got The Father with Anthony Hopkins, Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. So now I have a feeling, I haven't seen it. I've only seen clips, but I have a feeling I might be talking about The Father if I had seen it as a really strong contender for the top spot.
For Best Picture.
I don't see Mank. I don't see Mank.
No, me either.
Trial of Chicago 7. I got through 30 minutes of that. I thought it was horrible.
Yeah. I liked it, but no.
And then you've got Nomadland and Promising Young Woman. And we've already kind of commented on Promising Young Woman is not really
shouldn't belong
fitting into that. I could make an argument for it. So it leaves Nomadland, which I could certainly see that taking the top prize.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling The Father could get it.
I see Nomadland as the easy winner. That's the one I'm most confident of. I would say right now it's going to win Best Picture in the Golden Globe, whether it's tonight or whenever.
Yeah. And then you've got actress, right? So you get Viola Davis, Andra Day, Vanessa Kirby, Frances McDormand, and Carey Mulligan.
Okay. And for me, it comes down to two.
And again, I haven't seen all these films. So the best prediction I could make is Frances McDormand.
Okay. And I think it's going to come down to Frances McDormand and Viola Davis. I think Frances McDormand should win, but I have a feeling it's going to go to Viola Davis.
Maybe. Again, I can't comment. I haven't seen that.
My pick would be Frances McDormand, but I have a funny feeling it's going to go to Viola Davis, even though they're both won previously. So they're both winners.
All right.
That's my pick.
So actor Riz Ahmed, Chadwick Boseman posthumously, Anthony Hopkins, Gary Oldman, and Tahar Rahim. Again, I haven't seen all of these. I'm going to pick Anthony Hopkins.
I want Anthony Hopkins to win. I think it's the best performance I've seen in a long time. But I don't think he's going to win. I think there's going to be a lot of sentiment for Chadwick Boseman.
No, I don't.
Who should not be in this category. He should be in supporting actor.
Right.
Because it's a 90-minute film, and I wrote a blog about how time doesn't matter. Were you surprised that Anthony Hopkins was only in Silence of the Lambs for 17 minutes?
Not really.
I was shocked.
Yeah, not really.
When I found out. But Anthony Hopkins in The Father, unbelievable, phenomenal performance, should win.
Okay.
I want him to win.
Best director. I'm saying Chloe Zhao.
I'm going with Chloe Zhao.
For Nomadland.
Yeah.
And I think we got director, actor, actress, best picture, and we're missing, is it screenplay we're missing?
Screenplay, and I don't even know what's up.
I'm going to give it to Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. It's The Father, Trial of Chicago 7, or Mank, or Promising Young Woman.
Nomadland.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my pick.
All right. Well, you have it on record, so we'll have to, we'll see how it shakes out after Sunday. Yeah.
All right.
All right, Judas and the Black Messiah. Make sure you check this one out, guys. But for now, that's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Be kind. See you next time.